talk about gangs in communities, this is not some extraordinary organization with an evil enterprise that's so much down the road and we draw very clear lines between people of good values and bad citizens. Gangs are cousins, gang members are cousins. It's people you went to primary school with. There are people who you play sports with on a Friday evening, and they are competing for status, value, and resources, oftentimes in communities where they lack resources, where there's social stigma, and they are not given equal footing. In some communities, and I want to set up the community before I discuss the gang, in some communities, you don't have a major supermarket there. They have grocers, shops, and parlors. In some communities, the only ATM available to them is in an industrial complex, but everything else is outside. In some communities, they still need to find a relative or a member if they think that could give the opportunity for a child to pass a first choice school, because for them, prestige is somehow a code word for prejudice. So these things exist. So what gangs do is fill a vacuum where resources flow. And at no time I'm celebrating the role of gangs. We need to understand the sociological conditions which create them. And why people may value a gang is because they achieve the same means that we all who sit here work for, spend hours in traffic trying to achieve. You smoke a weed, sniff at something, and have a somebody. That is what we are trying to achieve, but maybe in Bora Bora or in our next country, right? Or Aruba. Not the smoke and the sniff, but the idea of leisure.
Yes.
The idea that to consume the goods that you see on television or anyone else has. That is the same desire. So gangs in communities, what they represent sometimes is a group often led by men of people who would have achieved the hopes and the means of the society, but part of it is moralized, but part of it is a function of poverty, where they take up a role where sometimes the state does not have the same level of access to provide the needs. Now, I'll make it very clear. Gangs thrive in areas where you have high levels of illiteracy. When you have people in a social program and over 50% have 0 CXC passes, that means no job advertised on the newspaper generally they could apply for. And that means everything else is a work, is a 2 weeks work, and a link to know somebody to have some sustainability in their life. When you have communities and that is normative or the majority experience, you don't have enough interlocutors from different sectors, industries, people who possess social capital outside of teachers and people in the church and religious traditions. You really have a lot of people in a large experience of poverty, and gangs now fill that vacuum. And that is why it is very gendered. Young men who are struggling to achieve in education, and in a society where we have less opportunities for second and third chances, we have efforts, Ministry of Education makes that there, but many people still don't follow through on that. In a society where you have health challenges and social displacement, and my colleague here, Luke, will talk about the spectrum of social displacement people could fall into for homelessness and the victimization they experience outside of the home. The violence they experience in the household and then the violence they experience in the community sphere. That a gang now creates opportunity for boys and increasingly girls to be part of it.
We're going to discuss that.